In an effort to advocate for less unequal, sexist, and SGBV free societies, we bring you with us into the daily life of women, portrayed by a Gambian man. Unlike this sketch, gender norms remain strong. So we hope this content helped moderate the attitude towards gender norms and consequently eradicate all the inequity that stems from them so that we can become closer to seeing a fuller picture from the female perspective. Brought to you by the Toufah Foundation and Ambassade de Suisse au Sénégal. In an effort to advocate for less unequal, sexist, and SGBV-free societies, we bring you with us into the daily life of women, portrayed by a Gambian man. Hello, greetings, good evening to you all, and welcome to the FATA Network. My name is Toufah Jallo. I'm sure you all watched the video that we just played, and that is the video why we are here today. Myself, Fatoumata Jaiteri. I will leave her to introduce herself, and also Mr. Fallou Sow. The floor is yours. Let's go you first.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, I am Ms. Fatoumata Jaiteri, coming from Starfish International. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I'm Fallou Sow, the National Coordinator of the Network Against Gender-Based Violence, and I am so pleased to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Today is, again, I think it's important to acknowledge that today is International Day of Zero Tolerance for FGM, and it's important to remember that today, on this day that we recognize, and every other day, that no woman should lose a part of their body in order to subdue to sociocultural norms that dictate that it is the only way they are valid or full or whole, or in any way, shape, or form to indicate that women should be controlled, caged, or told what to do with their bodies. So we recognize the thousands of women around the world who have experienced this harmful practice, and looking forward to a future where girls and women are free from such harmful practices. Today, we are really trying to dive into the video that we just watched. And we call it a reverse reality because when you watch it, you're seeing a man live the daily experiences of a Gambian woman. And I'm sure a couple of people watching it were saying, Hanaki dafa ñaka fayda lu tax muy def li. And it's deliberate why a man was put in that position. Because again, if you watch that and you felt like any of the roles were not right, or any of the activities or the imbalance, especially when it comes to the chores between the wife and the husband, then we should question why it is accepted in the other way around. For me, especially when I was directing it, it was difficult for me because of all the internalized stereotypes that we all hold, especially the attire scene with the girls. The most vivid memory is an old man passing by, and he was going to the jaka, si jaka bila don dem. And he was like, lan ngeen a def si biti fii nii, jigéen yi yéen a ngi xiim attire, lu xew? And he was really pissed. And again, comments like, you should be home helping your mother, right? It's not even parents. You should be home helping your mother. And everyone that was passing by was very intrigued by the fact that women are brewing attire in the streets. I had to come to the man and say, oh, no, it's okay. It's just for a sketch. It's just an advocacy video. And he's like, ban façon advocacy video moy jar jigéen yi di tok di attire. Man mënuma understand lolu, you know? And it's a valid concern. So it's the everyday little gender stereotypes, I think, that we have to get familiar with and start discussing how those morph into, the bigger forms of violences that we discuss. So just let you say a bit on your thoughts on the video and just the idea of gender stereotyping in general. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the brilliant breakdown. I think, when I think about what happened in the video, for me personally, I questioned about really how deep-rooted these kinds of mindsets or these kinds of concepts are in our communities. Because, for example, when you talk about the old man, you could feel that he felt strongly about this.
Yes.
And so, I feel like to some extent it's really from home and from the way children are being raised by, their parents, the society, and as they grow older, they don't get to know any better. And I don't mean to say that as an insult, but I just want to say that that's what they know. That's what they know, works and nothing else. And women are just seen as people who should please and people who should obey and not let their voices out. And so I think overall as a community, we have a lot of work to do.
Yep.
And I feel like it's not just our community. A lot of other communities, even outside, are struggling with gender issues. And so we are not an exception. But I really love the way you did the reverse rules. I think, as you said, it's one thing to tell someone, but it's another to actually show them. And so when you are feeling like, okay, this should not happen, why is it wrong for the man, for the woman to be doing that? It's just an activity, it's just brewing an attire.
Yeah.
And so you should definitely question yourself, I feel like.
Yeah.
And, look at why you feel like the woman should not do that. And is it something that is harming the community? If you think about it, not necessarily. So, and sometimes I feel like the critical thinking is not even there, because at the end of the day, if you ask that old man maybe why can't they do it, he wouldn't really be able to explain.
He would just say they are not supposed to.
Right, he just knows that, during his grandparents' time, during his parents' time, women didn't do it, so they shouldn't be doing it now. Anyways, I'll pass it on to you.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I like the part where you said that our community is not the only one facing gender issues, right? Gender stereotyping, or our idea of gender is very fluid depending on where you are at, when you go to Guinea-Bissau or other countries, it's okay for a woman to ride a bicycle, a motorbike, right? And even do business with it, or probably become taxi drivers. If you go to New York, maybe it's okay with the rise of Uber and all these artificial intelligence stuff. Women can do some of those things, right? Or even within the continent. Guinea-Bissau is in Africa, and Gambia is. But for them, it's okay for a woman to do that. But once you come a little bit to the west of that, in Gambia, then it's like, what are you doing? And that's why even in the sketch, the taxi driver is a woman, myself. But also, some of the subtle messages are in the car as well. Most oftentimes are not. Already, we know for sure the driver is a man. Most of the customers in there would be men, right? The idea of the experiences of girls inside taxis in the country is a whole other storyline that if you're a man in this country or a boy, you don't know what we are talking about, Every woman, when you speak to them about taxi experiences, they can relate, whether they acknowledge or recognize it as harassment or microaggression or just inappropriate, right? But they know that there is an experience. And when you're walking into a taxi, you get yourself ready. You're ready for the encounters. We already even have pre-made answers for the encounters and what to do. You know that you have to clutch your bag. You know that if the man they're sitting here and their hand is going all the way to the third seat, that all you have to do, squeeze to the door, right? So we all have internalized coping mechanisms, that we have to take in order to just accept what is. And again, it sifts from where you are at and where you go. So depending on where you are at, and I think that's why it's important to know that we came up with gender stereotypes. We came up as to what gender should do what, because if it was universal, gender roles would be universal across the board. But some of the scenes in there, it doesn't matter whether you are in North America or Africa or Asia, you can relate to the unbalanced equal load of work that we have to do every day. But I'll just let Mr. Saul just
Thank you so much, Toufah. I think this is a very, very interesting video.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's the reverse that it is showing. And for us like men, we can learn a lot from this video. Knowing about some of the gender norms, practices that are going on in our cultures, in our families, even in the streets, that we sometimes condone as men, that you can relate in this video to know that actually these things are wrong to do to anybody. When you look at the man talking to the ladies, saying that brewing attire in the streets is wrong, they should be going to help their mom. It's often happen. You see a lot of boys in the street brewing attires. So why didn't we question that? Why didn't we ask them to go home and help their daddies, for instance? Like he's saying, you should be at home helping your mom. We all have roles and responsibilities as people, and that is just telling us how balanced our society is when it comes to especially domestic chores. We relate to men and women. And this is why most often than not, I said we need to redefine our gender roles and norms if we have to develop as a society. Because most of these roles are not like something that is static that we cannot change. Men should be able to cook. And I was talking to one gentleman, he says, especially in the Gambia, men don't cook. And cooking is one of the very fundamental and important life skills of a human being. When you are in a place or in an environment where you need to survive, for instance, where there is civil unrest and other things, you don't have a woman or somebody to cook for you. So how do you survive in those situations when disaster occurs and you are on your own and have to survive? So it's a very important life skills that especially people in the Gambia, men in the Gambia and boys don't learn, and we just don't pay heed to it. But when you travel, you come to realize how important it is. And in the video, like you see, also it also depicts all the troubles, the trauma, the suffering that women undergo, especially when they are in their matrimonial homes. You work, you come back, you cook, you wash, and at night you expected to, perform your matrimonial duties as well. You can see the man how she was frowned at the lady during the night when she's going, and I'm sure he's so tired after doing all the domestic chores and now coming to bed, and then you ask to come and perform other matrimonial duties in bed, and that becomes so tiring and difficult, and you can see how torturing that is emotionally and psychologically to him. So this is to teach us, especially us men, to understand what women undergoes, to be able to put ourselves in their shoes and be able to ensure that we understand what they are undergoing and see how best we can work to correct some of these things. I think it's high time that we decide as families, as people, to correct some of these things. The man, probably the old man, was speaking from a cultural perspective, saying that, the girls shouldn't be in the street, for instance. But we look at that, it's all about the socialization in our families. And if we want to really change these gender stereotypes, redefine our gender norms and roles, we need to go back to that socialization at the family level, to teach our boys to understand that, you are equal as human beings, as boys and girls in the family level, to teach them to share the domestic chores. So that the boy washes, the boy cooks, the boy, do all those things together with his sister. And then when he grows up from there, he would come to, recognize and understand and respect women, rather than if at that level the boy thinks that, oh, it's my sister who should be doing all these things. It's my sister who should wash. It often happens. I'll give example of my own family today, this morning, before we leave, because my wife went earlier. So I have to prepare breakfast. So when we eat, after that, I asked my boy, please go and wash the place. And he said, no, Daddy, leave it there. When when baby Mariam comes, he would wash it. And I said, and why? Why should baby Mariam wash it?
Yeah.
Who are you? And you ate from it, and now you are saying that we leave it there for baby Mariam. That's the sister to come and wash it. So you see, so you start to teach them that they have a responsibility.
Yeah.
So other parents who say, okay, park it there for baby Mariam.
Yes.
So I ask her to go and do it. And I'm teaching him that, as baby Mariam can do it, you can do it. And you are equal here. And in fact, it's you who ate from it, so you should wash the plate.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So he would learn from there. So tomorrow, hopefully, he will not be even questioning that. He would just go and do it. So this is some of the things that we need to be doing to ensure that we change some of these things. And coming again to the taxi, you see the sexual harassment that was happening to this man. So equally, like you talked about, often than not when young ladies and girls get into taxis, I can observe when he came, the other lady, went out and asked him to get in first. And then he was in between the two ladies, and he was sandwiched, and then they were harassing him, some were touching him here and there, and you can see how uncomfortable he was. You understand? So that's just to tell us again that as men, as people, we need to be sensitive about other people, especially when we are in places where it is tight, and we need to understand that all those things are unacceptable. You cannot do that to a woman, to a lady, or to a girl. Just likewise, we seen in this video, people will be saying, oh, this is correct. Look at these girls, what they are doing is wrong. Equally, on the other side, it's wrong for a man or boy to do that to a girl. So we need to understand that as well.
Or also comment and say, why is the man being uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Like, that should be the dream of a man, is to be sandwiched. It's also
between
just
two ladies, and they are
toxic,
touching you here and there. He should take it as an advantage.
Yes, he
you
should.
understand?
Yes.
Which is wrong.
Yeah, like, why would you be uncomfortable and they will question his masculinity, right? If that man walks out of that taxi and expresses discomfort or say, oh, this jigeni, yung madon defnini, people will be like, what? Are you crazy? Right? So they're questioning the masculinity, because the idea of masculinity and being manly enough in our culture is to take on everything that works for you and give up everything that doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Right? And as long as what you're doing or what you're portraying shows that you're in charge, or you are dictating the terms, even if it's hurting you, is okay, right? That is what the manly man thing is. And it's so crazy when you really take the time, and that's what we all need to do, is look at our own everyday thoughts and experiences, right? Like you were talking about your kids in the morning, and Mohammed is sitting, Ida is sitting, there's a boy and a girl. I have two things that I want them to do in the morning yesterday. I want cash power to be bought, but I also want somebody to buy something from the market. I just said, Mohammed, go buy the cash power, and you, the girl, go buy the grocery. And I had to quickly ask myself, why? Why? It could have been, you could have told Ida to go buy the cash power, But why is it that it's Mohammed's role to buy the cash power? And I could not imagine. So I had to pinch myself and say, Mohammed, come back. You go, and reverse the roles. And they were looking at me like, sister is crazy. But it's an effort that we have to do every day. And I think we should really question, when you put aside all the ego and what you've been taught is what being a man or what being a woman is, of course, because most of this is not men perpetuating or upholding it.
is women believing their womanhood, their femininity, and the very essence of their existence depend on playing these roles, right?
Yeah.
So for me, when you even said, when you were talking about cooking and, you know, scenarios of war and battle and there's no woman, for me, I don't even think the idea of feeding yourself is a skill. I think it's a basic human need,
Yeah.
right? It's like telling me you cannot feed yourself when you're able. It's like telling me you cannot take yourself to the washroom, right?
Yeah.
Because going to the washroom, eating and sleeping are basic human needs. So as a human being, when you want to boast about the fact that, oh, I don't know how to feed myself, it means you don't know the pillar to your survival as a human being. So I don't think you need war or any type of chaos for you to be able to realize that you should be able to cook. So it's not something to boast of and to say, "Manumuno matoga," right? You know, you're trying to tell me that you don't love yourself enough to feed your own soul when you need something to eat. But all of this will really take a lot of conversation, and when you say put yourself in the shoes, is also to put out advocacy video and content that is not only saying do this, or we shouldn't do that, or we should think about this, or we should have conversations about this, but it's to say, okay, let's flip it and see how we feel. Let's flip it and see how the conversation makes any sense when we reverse any of those roles. But yeah, yeah, go ahead.
You know, I was actually thinking, I think one of the problems we have, you know, it's actually questioning ourselves. I feel like a lot of times, you know, because of how we've been raised to just be what we are told to be, it can be difficult to be like why, to ask the why, right? And I feel like that is really important when it comes to issues like this that are very sensitive to people. And also when you start talking about it sometimes, it can be really difficult because you get fired with a lot of, you know, where were you cultured, are you Gambian, and all of that. And a lot of times, you know, people take it on, but at the end of the day, they get tired of it. But our development really, I feel like, is going to be anchored on some of these things such as equality, especially when you think about gender equality. Because no particular gender can do it by themselves. When I think about the wall, it's like a bird. And you have the male wing and the female wing. And both need to be strong, nourished, in order for the bird to be able to fly, right? And that is the wall. And so, and as much as we are creating educational opportunities and feeling like women are being out there talking, there's some of these things that are rooted in our homes and in our communities that I feel like are not boosting people's or women's, you know, development, overall development. Also, I wanted to point out the role of men in this. Because I feel like I'm so happy you are here, and you know, from what I've heard, you actually believe in, you know, what we are talking about. It is not necessarily fighting for women, really. That is not what we are trying to do. It's just being like, okay, we're human. Why is the other gender being seen less, or, you know, reduced to certain types of stereotypes that are kind of like undermining their development. So I feel like men need to be on board as we, you know, talk about these issues, because sometimes their fellow men listen to them, and so when you're able to say, okay, I did it, I mean, I cooked, I didn't die, I came out just fine. Perhaps, you know, my relationship with my wife got better, my kids are learning what compassion means. All of those things I feel like are things that would teach other men to not be afraid and to know that it's just basic humanity being able to do some of those things.
Exactly, yeah. And it doesn't make it countercultural,
Yeah,
like I would like to believe.
I think actually men, to change the gender roles and norms and gender stereotypes in our culture, men should play a critical role because unfortunately what's happening is that men are the ones that are dominating, that are having the power. And when you have power, you tend to want to continue controlling and sustaining that power. And as long as men continue to want to control and sustain that power, it's going to be difficult. Women would fight, but it's going to be difficult. we have to have men who have to understand that, like you said, the world is like a bird with two wings. That if we have to develop, if you have to change how things are, both the two, wings, men and women have to work together to get to where we want. And I think this is one of the reasons why, especially in Africa, our development is very slow, because our culture, our norm makes it very difficult for the other, or even, let's say, 60% of our population to really realize their potential and contribute meaningfully to development, because they always stamped down. They are not allowed, they are not nurtured, they are not given the freedom to speak out. They are not given the opportunity to hold positions where they can really contribute meaningfully to development. And because of that, our development has to slow down. If you go to the West, because as many years ago, their cultures were like this.
Yes.
But they realized it and decided to let go some of these rules, some of these norms that they feel is really against development. And that's what helped them. And they allowed their women to take up their roles and responsibility in development, to take up their roles and responsibilities in our society. And that is why they are developing. And because we still are not letting go some of these things, we want to cling into it. Afraid of change. We would continue to battle with this problem of development. So I for one believe that we need to ensure that we create that equal, opportunity for everybody. We make sure that both women and boys, girls and men have the equal opportunity in our society, giving the equal opportunity to education, to everything, to ensure that we all excel together. And when we do that, surely we will develop. And as well as we continue to hold on to this thinking that, I am the man, so I should control, I should ensure that, what I say is what will happen. Some women are more intelligent. I was saying this in one of the forums that I attended recently, that often than not, one of the gender stereotypes in the Gambia is that women are not intelligent. Jigen amut hell. Yes, that's what we say. But I said, let's look at it. Some of us have been in class with women from primary one to high school to university, and they have been beating us over and over every exam
as well.
With all the things they are undergoing, with all the troubles at work. Every exam they beat you. So can you now sit and say that woman is not intelligent? So are you real? So you understand. So we need to know that intelligence is a gift that God gives to every one of us, being a man or a woman. And every one of us, when that person has it, you need to respect it and understand and nurture it, so that that person can excel. So we have to give opportunities to everybody. And if we do that, I believe definitely we will have the desired change that will help us to develop in this country.
Yeah, definitely. And at some point, I think also as women, especially I'm seeing most young girls, I mean, she is an example, are now getting to a place where they're taking it, right? They're not waiting to be given the opportunities. They're not waiting to be given the space or the platform. They're taking it, they're questioning it. And I think when you move within the society, especially as a man, and you never ask, why do I have this position? Why do I have this power? Why do I have this voice? You just take it as it is what it is. Right. Sometimes you ask some questions as a woman, they will just, the ultimate answer is because jigenga. Just because being a woman, that word answers all the questions as to why all of what is perpetuated on you is valid. But for the women that are also trying to take it back, especially Gambia, here, it's hard because when you're asking questions that you feel as a human being, right, your very identity is questioned, right? So when you say, hey, I want to go to school too. Hey, I also think I can be a president. or you even have the audacity to step outside of what you're told you can be or should say, then they question your identity. Are you even Gambian enough, right? You're tagged as westernized, which to me I feel like is very insulting to the African identity and our African history and who our women used to be, you know, before they came. And to say that just because I have an independent mind, that must be white influenced, that's an insult to us as black people, as African people. Because what you're trying to tell me is that as an African woman, I should not have the ability to demand anything unless it is westernized, right?
Even to think.
To think, you know? And
you shouldn't have the ability to think.
Exactly. And whatever the Western women demanded or they're seeking for, at some point you get back to us, right? The same way they stole our land and our wealth and everything else, same way did they copy black women resistance, right? Same way did they see women as queens and running queendoms and women who went to war, right? So feminism in itself is deeply rooted in our African cultures. If I ask you who's your biggest feminist, it's probably your mother, right? And your aunties, because you see them wake up every day despite the obstacles and they defy what they were supposed to be. So for me, but it's hard because we all want to maintain our identities, you know, is to say, no, of course I'm Gambian, of course I'm African, but I'm saying that I feel like it's unfair how I am being put on this table, right? And they attack your identity because they feel like if they do, they're leaving you in a position to pick between your human emotional feelings as a human being and to pick between that and your identity of as to who you are. And that's a very difficult position. And most women are in that position trying to balance identity and feelings as a human being. So, but again, at the end of the day, all these gender stereotypes we do not question move into the other violences that we speak of. You know, you're talking about, you know, gender-based violence, you're just talking about rape, aggression, assault, you know, all forms of violences on women are possible or are enabled because we are not even checking the little basic ones, right? So if you're telling me that I should be respectable, I should respect you because you are a man, therefore not raise my voice, I'm already used to lowering my voice. So when you touch me, when you cross my boundary, is it okay for me to be like, hey, is that rude of me? Is that how a woman, you know, jigen dafa neka jigen, danga tay, right? Should I be tay in those moments? You know, so it's very difficult. And I think that can bring us to our next video, which also is a reverse reality of a rape victim, but in this case is a woman. And then we can get into some of the discussions that we've been having as a country when it comes to violence on women's bodies and just violence in general. Yeah, so we can...
Buba.
Wow, Lamin.
I know it's hard to take this,
Uh-huh.
but for women I can't go anymore. So tomorrow morning I have to go and report this to the authority.
Okay.
I cannot watch her to go out with this. I really can't. See, it's out there doing it to more people.
Diga, baye ko yalla rek. You are a man and have a reputation to maintain. Forgive and forget. Besides, you really want those eyes and mouth on you? If you listen to my advice, you will let this go and save your family. The shame and the humiliation.
I understand all those things. Mota, my silence. 10 years. So, really giving me sleepless night. So, I have to do this, I'm sorry. So, yeah, thanks for your advice. Good night.
Lamin. Boy Lamin, déglu ma rek.
Assalamu alaikum. Anayendef. Okay, I am here to report a case. Yeah, but is there anywhere more private or we can discuss it?
Yes. Wala ñoo jël sa statement kon te bala mala déré keneen ku xam ne kooku ñu def dama war a xam sa problème fess nga li ngeen di def bala mala déré ci keneen do ma wax sa problème.
Okay, fine. Is there any male officer on duty today? At least can a male officer take my statement?
Mo ko la kay mo wax la gis nga fi ñu yëpp ay police officer la so yow do dugg ci fi nga wax ñu kuy jël sa statement ak ku du jël sa statement yaa ngi digal waaw su fekkee da nga ñëw report so do report that please get out. You are not here to do.
Okay, fine. I would like to report a rape case.
Rape.
Yeah, I was raped by my boss at the ministry where I work.
Small bro, ma puto niyo, kula gis. Rape la. Ben, shut up. What boy? You nga dem am sa boba yu ngeen yow sa ko di mat nga ñoo fini di taxaw fi di jox ñu story bu nga xamne understand yow tamit my friend bro di nga bay sa loxo yow tamit wala yow sax waru lo ñëw fi di nga wara toog ak jigéen bi ngeen négocier station
But she did.
ñoo fini taxaw fi di ñu wax ne god what
I knew this was a bad idea.
My brother, it's not that we don't want to write your statement. Why? You'll soon negate it. You'll soon negate it when you finish a statement. Because then you are a whole one for so well.
My rapist is
Miss Mansa. No. She is the minister.
xam nga ban jigéen turi ban jigéen nga wax nii kooku nit la koo xamante suñu société bi nit yi dañ ko fonk ba pare nit la koo xamante dafa am respect nit ba pare yow loolu ban time la am ak fu mu la fekka Gambia liggéeykat yi yëpp 4 PM lañ dee waaja
This happened 2 months ago at her office.
and now you are reporting the case loolu nga xamul looy wax sax
Pretend like never happened. Yeah, I don't want to report it.
Just look at him. All right. Can you imagine? They will take the children, and after that,
My friend, he has no sutura. This one has no sutura. Just imagine the shame that he will bring to his father. After people hearing this, can't he just stay strong as a man and just move on?
That's all he can do for now. Just look at him.
And even this thing happened. Why did he go to the police station?
Exactly. You see? They just want to destroy her name. That's all. But wait.
But these people is a problem. We shouldn't even waste our time talking about this kind of people. That is better. Very good.
They cannot have my ass. It's kind of too much. They cannot allow it. And what I do? Next time.
Go ahead, Bana. Baba,
I know you've been avoiding my call, but I just want to warn you. Just so you know, no one will believe a word that you say. Remember, I have more connections than you. If you speak and I speak, no one would listen to you. You rape. Let it go! I will share your naked pictures and messages if you do not stop talking. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Mrs. Maria. I hope you're fine.
Yes, I'm great.
With everything going on.
Trust me, they cannot bring me down. Not even your family. You know, they're just jealous of my success. You know, I'm too religious and righteous to do such a thing. Do I look like a rapist? I love men. My father is a man. I will never even threaten a man. Don't listen to them.
We know you are better than that. We stand with you, my dear. It's all going to be fine, inshallah.
Oh yeah, we'll talk later. I'm going to go into work now. Talk later. Bye. I will share your naked pictures and messages if you do not stop talking. I love men. My father is a man. I will never even threaten a man.
There is a lot a lot going on there. So if you have any thoughts on that, I would just let you. Yes, please.
So first of all, I had goosebumps when the guy spoke to the police and he turned away.
Yeah.
I mean, he was physically there, but I felt like something died in him. Like something, his emotions, his mental well-being. And I know a lot of times, people don't pay attention to that, but they really see you laughing and taking it all. But even way after the things I feel like rape does to someone, particularly a woman. And I just want to say, as I listen to the bystanders talking, I feel like there is so much you take when you come for the community and for people to say all sorts of things. So I don't know why, at the end of the day, the community stands with, in this case, I would say the man, because a lot of times that's what actually happens in the
reality.
Yeah, the reality. And they just want the woman to live with that. That is, I don't know, it's crazy when I think about it. And it's even making me emotional right now, but it's really, really sad.
It's valid, yeah. That this is a sketch, really, but there are so many women that actually feel that way and have to process all of that, and all of those comments are really just probably when you're seeing it now, you're seeing the whole thing happening, but in reality you don't see all these different scenes, right? You're just seeing from one point. And I think it's important for people to know that the comments that probably does say, especially as a woman, you're animated. You're not a human being anymore, right? And even if they feel like you're a human being, those statements are purposely meant to shut you down. Nobody can come in front of me and say, those comments are to motivate you. Those comments are to make you good. Those comments are to uplift you. Or those comments are even to be logical with you or to argue with you. Those comments do exactly what they are meant to do.
Or to even give you a chance to share your story.
Right. It doesn't really.
To many of our girls and our women in the country, when they go to report or when they are raped, they hardly believe. So you can see the gentleman, his trust on the authorities, the confidence he had was all broken because he thought, despite differences done to report, he thought that he needed to report. He built that confidence to go and report, and he was really disappointed by the officers at the station. And often this happened because we know of a number of cases in which some of the survivors would share their experiences that they have at police stations when they go to report cases. When somebody says, for instance, I need to talk to a man, you should understand, you should be sensitive to try and see whether they are comfortable to talk to women. Just like in real life stories, many of our women would go to stations and would have preferred to talk to, police officers who are women. But you have a lot of the men there, and then you need to narrate, for instance, a rape case to them. Even to face a man sometime for a victim of rape is difficult because it's like it's coming again to you. It's coming again to you. It's a man who have done that to you, who rapes you, and now you are facing a man, or you are in the same room with a man alone. That could be torture in itself, psychologically and emotionally. And because of this, the man has given up. He said, just think that it never happens. So he's trying to bury the thoughts and everything, but it will not happen. It will not go away. He would live with this trauma throughout his life, just like the woman in a real case story would live with this trauma throughout their life. And you can see people outside, pointing fingers, just like it happens in real life with women and girls. They will point finger at them, name them. And I always see, especially in a Gambian culture, we are very good, especially when it comes to gender-based violence, to side with the wrongdoers, to side with the perpetrators, and continue to traumatize and discourage and, you know, make the survivor feel even unwanted by the society. Because most of the time the comments that's what the comments, the messages, that's what the person is receiving. They would label you bad. They would say you are the one who went there. They would say it's the way you dress, you know, it's the way you talk, because you shouldn't talk that way, and all those things. Instead of concentrating with the one who has done the wrong thing, the one who has violated somebody's right, they will concentrate on you who have been violated, who've been traumatized, and continue to traumatize you. So this is a very bad thing that actually is happening every day, though to mostly women and girls in our country, but actually some men also could have faced this kind of circumstances in the Gambia, because recently I have a number of cases of young boys who have been defiled by other people, you understand, in this country, and have to undergo a lot of problems. And I know that's not the first cases. There are different cases, and it is increasing in this country. So actually, in real sense, the video is showing the reversed, looking at the numbers, but this is also could be a real life story that can happen to some men as well. But whatever the case may be, it is teaching us as people who are authorities to be sensitive, to understand people's feeling, to respect people, especially when a survivor comes to you or somebody comes to you as an authority and say, I would prefer to talk to a woman, I would prefer to talk to a man. You should really listen. And also you could see the other situation where they are saying, oh, that woman, do you know who is that woman?
She's powerful.
It's a powerful thing. And as long as we have that thinking in our mind that certain people are above the law, that certain people cannot defile or cannot violate the rights of other people, or should not or shouldn't be seen as, we will continue to have this kind of situation in our homes, in our communities. Because for me, everybody is capable of doing something bad, given the situations in which that person is. And that's why when we normally sensitize people, we tell them, everybody, fathers do, teachers do, imams do, and so forth and so on. So, and when we're talking of our society, because we have seen such cases of people that are highly respected, that have defiled other girls and women in our society. So it's not about the position the persons hold, either in the society or politically. But you should listen to the person, get the story, and do your investigation. That's what you are there for, not to question the person who comes to report a case to you.
No, definitely. Most of the statements that have been said in the video are actually statements that we hear, right? That entire script is nothing made up. It is myself, especially as a survivor, is to say, okay, what are the comments, right? And it's just to piece them down, and they come so easily because they stick with you. And I have come to the conclusion, and this is very personal to me in my understanding, is that the wall don't have a problem with having victims and survivors or people that go through rape. The wall has a problem with survivors that speak out, right? Is that you're a victim, we know you exist, but don't be visible. Once you are, that is the problem. Because the very idea of accepting that level of vulnerability, it means you're challenging the very status quo. And that is, your body is already not completely yours in many ways, whether it comes to raising families, whether it comes to limiting it like FGM, whether it comes to people that have access to it, the decisions they make for you, arranged marriages. So your body, we have understood as a society, is not completely yours, right? So when at any point that has been violated or someone has crossed the boundaries to your body, what audacity do you have to say that out loud, right? So they don't have a problem with you being abused. I mean, they'll come and visit you. You know, there's so many girls that have been abused and they're home, or if they're in the hospital, the neighbors will bring food for you. They will visit, they'll come and sympathize with your mother. They'll say, oh, we are so sorry that this happened, oh, you know. Until that girl decides to open the mouth, then the neighbor has a problem, right? Because you're not only speaking for yourself when you speak up, you're speaking the secret of many women who wish for it to be bottled, who are like, okay, everything is going normal, we're all pretending, we are all bottling our pains, let's just move in that direction. Do not disrupt this. We are not in a position to take on these wounds or to open them up, right? So some women block it to safeguard their own re-traumatization. And I have to understand that. It's like, but then at the end of the day, what? Right? And a lot of women in speaking up is saying, when I do, like the boy, the friend told him not to, but he went ahead and did it. And at the end of the day, the first question he's asking himself is, why did I even say anything?
Yeah, I shouldn't have.
Why did I even say anything? And yes, and a lot of survivors have to come to a place where our healing is not an ultimate stop. It's not like I am speaking out because so goes to prison, so goes to prison, and we are from A to Z. It's the process. It's the fact that I refuse to be a number, right? And that in itself is good enough reason. That in itself, so it's the process. And when it comes to institutions, I think when it comes to issues of curbing gender-based violence, the police can never be left behind. Like, they are part and parcel of the lived experiences of survivors. And it's not the ultimate goal again for the institution, it's the process. From the very minute the first person they interact with is important, right? And if you notice too, it's subtle, but what the guy is wearing, the guy is not in bloody clothes, because we have a mentality of what a real victim looks like, and when they walk into a police station, they should be walking from the rape scene into the police station.
Yeah, and when he said 2 months ago,
2 months,
it was like, what?
Yeah, it could have happened 3 days ago, and that question will still be asked, right? It was 2 months, and the question is asked. If the person comes out 5 years, the question will be asked. If it was 1 week, that question will still be asked, right? So it's not about the duration of time. It's that society have had this template of questions to ask so that we can deviate you from speaking your truth. And all of those comments, we have had them, whether it's online, whether, you know, the position of the person. And it was important to portray the rapist in that way, from the typical way of what we think rapists are, that is the madman in the street. That this can be a successful person, working at an entire ministry, holds a job, has money, in fact, maybe has 4 wives, and still has the capability to do this, right? Nobody's walking around. I don't walk, I mean, now I walk around on my forehead with raped because I spoke up, but not most raped women are walking around with a tag raped. You know, I can't see you and say you have been. The same way you cannot look at someone and conclude if they are a rapist or they are not a rapist. So I will just leave. We have spent, I guess, we are almost over the hour now, and I'm hoping that we will have more conversations around this as the storyline escalates from stereotyping to violence, but also to just dive more into the different forms of violences as well. But I will let you just throw your last words. I know the time is a bit tight, and you as well.
I would say that the videos were both very interesting and very important, especially to us, and bringing the other side of our society, showing the gender reverse of gender roles being played by the other sex, and also showing violence, especially rape, being perpetuated against a man is really very good, because it helps us, especially the men, to really understand what women undergo when such things happens to them. And it would, I'm sure, ring a bell to most people when they watch the video and the discussions, of course, to do a flashback on their practices, on the way they see things, on the way they do things, and it will help, especially in the process of change that we want to achieve the desired, society that we want to see in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start with really what our job as youth, and especially people with an education. I feel like having an education isn't only about going to school and speaking English, but really once you have the capacity to do research, to question, to critically think, and to, at the end of the day, defy the odds, I feel like you should come out. It's actually an incumbent on you. That's what I would say, to be able to question and be like, okay, I have arrived at this. You're really an icon when it comes to really, I think, owning these stories and being unafraid. And a lot of people out there, you make it look like it's not easy, definitely, but it's possible for us to be able to question these things and to change the status quo. So thank you for doing that. My final word would be, especially when it comes to gender-based violence and rape, someone's life is at stake. And sometimes you know so much, you cannot be like, I don't know. And I definitely know that there are people out there who know it, and they're just not admitting to it because of every consequence that can come their way. But our development is being undermined in a lot of ways. And I feel like all of us come from women. If you honor your mom, you respect your mom, and you even respect your religion, or you respect your identity, you would know that this is not man and woman issue, it's a humanity issue.
Exactly.
And so I hope people see it as that and take it as that.
I hope so too. And that brings us to the end of the program, but not the end of the discussion. It was great having you with us. We hope to trigger the conversation as always, and that we know that it is in each and every one of us to change the thinking so the actions can follow as well. As I always say, at the end of the day, if you're home, if you're at work, wherever you are, when it's all said and done, the reality is that we are here and we are present. And thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.